Hey guys, John with ACS Composite. Today we're going to be doing an install of our newest splitter for the C7 generation. It's our C7 ZR1 Splitters. This is going to fit on your Stingrays, your Grand Sports, and your Z06s, so it's an interchange between all three cars. In this video we're going to be doing it on our Z06 here, so if you have a Grand Sport or Z06 it's going to look pretty well much the same for you. Even a Stingray though, the install is going to be exactly the same. You'll get a copy of the instructions as well with the product, so you'll know exactly how to install it. Before we get into the install though, I want to show you a bit more about the product that we have. So it's a full assembly. You're going to have these deflectors with it. It's all or nothing. You can't have it without the deflectors because it is integral to the structural design of the splitter, and it reinforces it so it actually holds in place. So it's going to come with two sets of deflectors, or rather one set of deflectors, one for your driver's side, one for your passenger side. And it's also now our first splitter that's going to feature a reinforcement bar underneath it. So that's just going to give you an idea of how strong and powerful this splitter is. It does come out a little bit longer, but you might think since it's coming out longer and more aggressive that you're going to sacrifice on your ride height. That's not the case actually. If you have a Z06 stage 2 or stage 3 splitter, it's going to have less ground clearance. So it's better for you if you have steeper driveways, or if you're worried about hitting speed humps and speed bumps, or if your roads are particularly bad and don't lend itself to a low sitting splitter. The ZR1 is probably the better choice for you now because you're not sacrificing any of that ride height. It's going to be a little bit smaller, so it's easier to drive with. So these reinforcements are going to actually attach to your radiator rails and then to the splitter to give it a nice firm stance. The splitter is going to be of course painted in our carbon flash black to match every other trim piece on the car, such as your grille and your fender insert, and if you watched all the other videos you'll know exactly where carbon flash black is. Finally, the splitter is made out of PC Composite, which is our strongest plastic we do make. So it's a filled plastic that's a lot more resilient and to scratching and road scrapes and things like that over ABS plastic. You'll see on the back side there's actually buckets here for the reinforcement bar to attach to, and it just lends itself also to making the splitter a lot more rigid. As you can see, I'm kind of holding up with one hand and it's not really flexing. If you held up an ABS part, for example, and did this, you'd probably get a nice little boomerang effect and start twisting and turning on you. The biggest benefit of this splitter though is that you're going to be using the OEM holes. So if you have a stage 1 splitter, stage 2, stage 3, they're all going to be common holes. So if you're removing one of those splitters, you're not going to be doing any drilling. You're going to be using the same OEM holes. That means if you had a stock car and your dealership puts on a stage 1 splitter, they're drilling those same holes. So you're not really devaluing your car, you're not really destroying your car by putting extra holes. Everything's getting reused and repurposed for this splitter. So let's get into the install video and see how it goes on. Okay, so we've lifted the car up now to a working height. You just need to basically be able to get a drill underneath. Most of you are probably going to be removing a splitter, so a lot of the questions we get is how do you take out a splitter? There are the 7mm screws that you'll have to remove, and then there's also a series of rivets. Rivets is usually the one that people don't really know how to take out. Pretty simple, you just need a 3/16" drill bit. And if possible, you can set it on a low speed, but not really critical. And all you're really going to do is just put your drill bit in the center hole of the rivet, which will be pretty obvious when you see it. And you want to apply a really firm pressure on the back of the drill, pushing upwards, and then just slowly drill out. And you'll start noticing the head spin. And then once it starts spinning, if it doesn't come off immediately, you can kind of shimmy back and forth and it'll come out. So here we go. So just like that, you can see it even stays on the drill bit. Perfect, and then you can just have one more to do, and then you can just take out the shavings from the back and you can kind of peel off the bumper, and you can either get some compressed air or even just blow it or wipe it with your hand and you'll be good to go. And then just like that, it's done. And then we're gonna take off the splitter and then put on the new one. Splitter's off. We've drilled out our old splitter, and we're going to now prep the surface to mate the new splitter. We're going to use a 50/50 alcohol to water solution underneath and just wipe it down, just kill any residue. It's going to be the last time you see this painted portion, so nice opportunity to clean it. And now we're going to remove the 7mm screws underneath. Make sure you don't lose them because you are going to need them. Okay, so now we're gonna put up the spoiler. We're only gonna hold it in place with 4 screws because we wanna check the gaps after. So obviously this is easier if you have another person with you helping you to hold the splitter up, or if you have A-clamps. I'm gonna be a hero and try and do it myself. So again, you're just, you're using the OEM 7mm screws here, not rivets. Struggling. I'm doing 2 in the center and then probably 2 at the extremity on either end, just so nothing's flexing on us. And I'm just hand tightening because we do want to position and move the splitter around and make sure we get that fit that we are looking for. Okay, so now it's secured and we can go look. So the splitter is being held on now by the 4 screws. This is what you want to match up. There's a body line here to the splitter. Hard to pick up maybe on the camera, but once you have it on the car, you'll see it. You just want to make sure that it's getting fitted into that little recess there. So that's how you know you got the fit that you want. So you're just following this line around here, make sure everything's nice and tight. And then the second thing you want to check for is to make sure your gapping between here is balanced on your driver and your passenger side. So I'm just going to take a look at the driver side and then go over, or the passenger side, look to the driver. And that looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to move on to the next step now. I've turned the wheel to give access to the 3 mounting screws here for the deflector. So if you have a Grand Sport and Z06, they're going to be here. Obviously, if you have a Stingray, you don't have these on your car. So they're 3 T15s. We're just going to remove them. Okay. So now we've removed the mounting hardware on the deflector. Now the next step is to drill the hole and mark the hole on the splitter to attach the winglet to the splitter. Before we get that, we're gonna mask off the winglet so we can mark the hole. Could probably do this step before the splitter goes on, but you still have a lot of access on the side here, so you can still get through. You just wanna cover the inside wall of the winglet. Already be enough, but let's do it from here. Good. Now I'm going to go underneath and just reattach all the screws, and then I'll be able to put on the deflector and get the fit I want. Okay, so now I'm just going to put all the screws in. We've checked our fit. We're happy. And now we're going to do the deflectors. So now we're going to position the deflector on. There's not too much play here because they are matching the OEM mounting points. I'm kind of holding the deflector in place so it's not moving around too much though on me. Okay, so the deflector's in spot. I'm kind of holding everything a bit together because we still don't have the reinforcement bar on. So I'm sort of helping it being held in spot. And then the deflector is parallel with the winglet on the side here. So I'm good to scribe it. So I'm just gonna take my marker, mark the hole, and then now we're gonna remove the splitter off the car and then drill the hole. So the hole's marked. We're gonna come in with a 7/32 drill bit to drill out our marked hole. Obviously we wanna be cautious not to go fully through the part, but you'll know when you go through the first wall of the plastic. So here we go. It's a pretty soft plastic, so you don't have to push hard at all. That's it. So the hole's marked, and now we're just going to peel off the tape and then officially put back on the deflector for the last time. When you do this, you just want to make sure that the pull tab on the two-way tape is still exposed so you can have access to it when you need to peel it. So we're gonna leave that like that for now. And then we're gonna do the other side. So now everything's tightened, we're happy with the fit on the outside, so now we're underneath, we're gonna drill the holes. As I mentioned in the beginning though, if you've taken off a splitter, these holes are gonna match exactly the ones that you've previously drilled. So you don't really need to drill, but if it's your first time with putting a splitter on a car and you've had no stage 1 splitter, you will need to drill holes. So a 3/16 drill bit. I'm just gonna do a few holes just to ream the hole, and then we'll be installing rivets. So you can see it's already pretty perfectly lining up. Okay, so now we're gonna start putting rivets. So we touch on this in a lot of our videos about using rivets over two-way tape. A split rivet is just the ideal hardware to use for these types of ground effects, just because when it opens up it mushrooms and really sandwiches everything in and locks everything in place, so you don't have to worry about it while you're driving on the highway. If you ever see a part that only requires two-way tape, we would be pretty scared. Perfect, so now we're gonna move on to installing the reinforcement bar. Okay, so We're going to be removing the M6 bolt on the radiator rail to install the reinforcement bar. Before we do that, we need to put the threaded insert on the bracket here. You want the bump raise part to go up towards the car, so like this. And you just put it and slide it on over so that the hole is exposed. And that's all there is to it. So now I'm going to remove the M6 bolts. There we go. Okay, so we're taking the reinforcement bar now with our washer. So washer on the outside, bolt threaded through. Okay, so now we're going to put a T27 bolt in the front. The bar is going to be under tension, so you're going to probably have to put some force going upwards to get it to go, but perfect. Okay, so the final step now is just to put in the push pin and peel the tape. So we're going to peel the tape just by peeling it, the deflector forward a little bit, just so we have access past the hole, and then I'm going to insert the push pin. So some force is required. So just remember that two-way tape is pressure sensitive, so you want to give it some really good firm pressure. Let it heat up a bit too. And then you're going to repeat the same thing for the other side. All right, so the splitter is now finally installed. We're gonna take it off jack stands, bring it outside, and we'll get some close-up shots of the splitter on the car. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments below.